while Trump is giving his inauguration speech, he has no idea what's going on. And he talks about it afterwards. What does he do? He had already known that Biden pardoned Fauci, Millie, and the January 6th panel, which means they can't get in trouble for fabricating any other thing because it's done. So all the lies, all the documents, the 10,000 documents that they're saying was shredded, that Trump claimed it was shredded, no one's going to be able to see because they're pardoned, right? Now, imagine that happens to you the day of you're about to give inauguration. You're ready to go after Fauci to find out what happened, or Millie, or go after all these guys, right? Can't. It's done. Pardon's there. And you are still biting your tongue because you're about to see this guy that does this, and you're going to give your speech. You're going to become a president while all these guys sitting to your left, the Kamalas, the Bidens, the Obamas, the Clintons, all of these guys sitting to the left were causing mayhem in your personal life for 4 years. They try to make your life a living hell. And then quietly, what does Biden do when Trump's on stage? In the final hours, he pardons relatives, family members, brothers. He didn't do that with the Fauci and others. He did it while Trump was getting up there. Joe Biden issued preemptive pardons to safeguard individuals from potential reprisals by incumbent President Trump. Recipients including 5 Biden family members, brothers, James and Frances Biden, sister, Valerie Biden Owens, wife's sister, and her husband, John Owens, not the John Owens, we know this is a different John Owens, and James's wife, Sarah, as well as figures like General Millie, Fauci, and members of the bipartisan family. Biden stated these are exceptional circumstances, baseless and political motivated investigations wreak havoc, okay? Many recipients viewed the pardons as necessary due to threats from Trump, who promised retribution and labeled the January 6th committee political thugs like Liz Cheney. Adam Kinzinger and other committee members issued a statement saying, we have been pardoned today not for breaking the law, but for upholding it. Police officer Michael Fanone, involved in the Capitol riot defense, called the pardons insane, but understood their necessity given Trump's promise of vengeance. When you hear these things, Adam, how do you process it that the pardons happened while the president's up there, specifically the family?
Well, look, I mean, we all like sports here. We like playing in a game. The last 2 minutes of the game is usually the most important game. The last 2 minutes in an NFL game might take a half hour. The last 2 minutes of an NBA game might take 20 minutes. And in the last 2 minutes of the Biden administration, before the shot clock, 3, 2, 1, at the buzzer, pardon everybody. And he didn't even give time for Trump to even process it to say this in his inaugural speech. So then Trump, at all the, how many, by the way, do you think Trump even took a break yesterday? He was going from event to event to event to event to event. He got onto the Liberty Ball stage and he goes, look, they told me not to say it at the inauguration speech. I didn't do it. But now he's like, F it. This Biden administration is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, the worst administration I've ever seen. The fact that he just went ham on Biden. So, of course, if you're doing shady things, at the end, at the shot clock, the buzzer, you're going to basically ask for pardons. And then I made a great tweet yesterday. I said, oh, yeah, he pardoned his entire family, but he forgot to pardon himself. Right, Tom?
He did. My reaction to all that was I was not surprised. And here's why I wasn't surprised. They worked tooth and nail to prevent the investigation. Because there was an investigation that was going on. I mean, never mind Hunter's laptop. They had got into the financial records. And there were how many of those? Vinny, you remember that? Adam, you remember it too. Remember how many accounts and sub-accounts there were where money was going to Biden family members? And they had tracked it. Mm-hmm. They had tracked it. They had the digital fingerprint of why were these amounts of money getting split up, and they were going to all of these Biden family accounts. The answer is Hunter was on the energy board of that energy company.
Burisma, I believe is what you're talking about.
Burisma, and got some sort of payments. And for some reason, those payments were getting split up and waterfall over the whole family. And so at the buzzer, what did he had to do? He had to cover the whole tribe. Now, there's something interesting. I read a day ago where this was, the Biden pardons. We were all of us here, we had kind of a text thread among us. We were saying, like, what is a pardon? Well, I went in and looked, and Gerald Ford's reasoning for pardoning Richard Nixon is he felt that his resignation and the public comments made of the resignation was an admission of guilt. A pardon used to be something that comes to you after the world is convinced and you've gone through this thing called due process, and you're guilty and you're actually serving some time, or you're indicted and you're on the edge of the cliff. The court case is almost done, but they agonize on whether they should. Remember, Gerald Ford was a longstanding member of the House of Representatives. He was actually on the Warren Commission for the Kennedy assassination, which is a whole nother story. But Gerald Ford said, I don't know if we should pardon Richard Nixon. And he was talked into it because they said, well, his resignation and the comments he made and the additional comments he's made publicly, it's an admission of guilt. And since it's an admission of guilt, I can pardon Richard Nixon. That's what a pardon does. That's what it's done historically. What Biden did was gave all of his family members Teflon vests. Nothing's going to stick. Hey, you can investigate. You can do it. Not one of these people had been indicted. Not one of these people had been pulled in front of a special committee. Not one of these people had been pulled in front of a grand jury. He just goes, all right, this is what we're going to do here. Everybody gets a pardon. A pardon for what? He just wrapped all of his family in a Teflon suit.
It's an admission of guilt, Tom, is exactly what it is. But you know what, guys? I blame Donald Trump. I blame Donald Trump. He showed his hand way too early, said everything that he was going to do, and this is what they did, Tom. This is Trump jumping ahead and saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He should have stayed quiet. Everybody says that we're these blind loyalists. No. That's a problem that I had, Tom. He said everything that he was going to do, so all those people around him, the Chuck Schumers, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Obamas, Hunter, everybody said, Dad or Mr. Biden, please help us, he's going to do this, okay? And especially after hearing what Speaker Johnson said in that interview with Barry Weiss, they were all, he's not making any decisions, which I think it's all BS, but let's think about it. Schiff doesn't have a pardon. Alejandro Mayorkas doesn't have a pardon. I think now he should be going after those people that made the decisions, because one of the worst ones, and Pat, you guys saw this, I tweeted it yesterday, was Mr. Fauci, whatever you want to call him. I think that's one of the most spit in the face. I made the comparison to him to that guy, Tom, who you actually told me his name, who was that Hitler's Nazi scientist, Joseph Mengele.
Yep.
He experimented on children with all that stuff. Fauci experimented with HIV-positive orphans with experimental drugs causing side effects. He did all these experiments on kids, vaccinating all these freaking children. Everything that he did, everything that Fauci did to give him, and mind you, he was under Trump. He was under what, 7, I believe, Rob, administrations or presidencies. That is one of those, in my opinion, those deep state actors that main goal was to destroy this country. And if you've read The Real Dr. Fauci, which you told me to read, I still can't believe that book is true. Still to this day. I think that's one of the biggest spits in the face. And that's why when I hear people say, oh, you think it's cool that he pardoned January 6 people that yelled and hit a cop? I don't give a shit. Sorry for my language. I want all of them out of jail. If Dr. Fauci, to me, who has crimes against humanity, okay, is going to walk free for the rest of his life and get Secret Service protection that I'm paying for, to hell with that. I wanted everybody from January 6th out. That's the biggest problem that I have, is that guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, Tom, here's a question for you. This is your opinion again when you're
all
comparing
my
these guys
opinion.
with Fauci. But,
All my opinion.
Tom, let me ask you, aside from Nixon, Ford, who else in the history of presidents has been pardoned for not committing a crime? Matter of fact, Rob, if you can go online and type in, because this is what I did and I texted all of you guys, what's the definition of a pardon? And just go to the top and let's read it together to the audience. Gang, if you don't mind, do it on your own phone if you can't see it. Okay. Definition of a pardon. Okay. If you go up there, I think I put something else. Well, the action of forgiving or being forgiven for any errors or offense. He obtained pardon for his sins. Okay. So if you type in who do presidents pardon? Just type in who do presidents pardon. Perfect. That's the explanation. Zoom in a little bit. Pardons extend to all federal criminal offenses, except in cases of impeachment, and entail various forms of clemency, including commuting or postponing a sentence remitting a fine or restitution, delaying the imposition of punishment, and proving amnesty of an entire group or class of individuals. So what's the key word? Federal criminal offenses. Okay. So what is Fauci a criminal? Is Millie a criminal? Are Biden's siblings all criminals? What president in the history has ever pardoned their siblings, Rob? Can you Google what president in the history of presidents has pardoned their siblings? Which president pardoned their family? Which president? If you type in, I'm actually curious, and I don't know the answer to this question, so maybe a lot of them. But if you want to find out which president, Vinny, you want to go ask on ChatGPT and ask which presidents pardoned their relatives. So Bill Clinton pardoned his brother for. Roger Clinton, President brother, was pardoned for drug charges after having served the entire sentence more than a decade earlier. So this is for a crime he committed. So this is not for a crime he didn't commit.
Yeah,
Convicted.
So
Roger
so
Clinton was
far,
convicted.
just Bill Clinton pardoned his half brother, and then Jimmy Carter did his actual brother for tax evasion.
But he actually committed the crime.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So you tell me when Rudy Giuliani, who the guy's his reputation, what they've done to this guy, when I went to his place and we were doing Mafia States of America, okay? I'm in his room, I'm in New York, and he's telling me, I had the laptop. FBI came, they did not want to see what's in the laptop. This is the Biden crime family. His words in Mafia States of America. I'm like, oof. The Biden crime family, the Biden crime family. Then you come in and pardon your entire family? And Bill Clinton pardoned his brother Roger Clinton, who did his entire time. Jimmy Carter pardoned his brother for tax evasion. What crime did Biden's family commit?
Exactly.
Oh, I got it. So you know what this is? You guys ever seen the movie Minority Report?
Of course.
What's the movie Minority Report about?
Stopping the crime before it happens, called pre-crime, because you got psychics that know that you're going to do the said crime.
So being able to use predictive technology to say you're about to commit a crime in the next 6 months, let's arrest you now, right?
Yeah.
You know what Biden uses? A level above Minority Report.
Yeah.
Biden uses a technology called, these are people that have committed crimes that they're about to get arrested in the future, but I'm pardoning them before they get arrested.
Exactly
It's a
that.
Minority Report on steroids.
Yep.
So this is again, so when anybody else, by the way, Democrats who are sitting there saying, how the hell do I create content the next 4 years? Meaning, what do I say? When they say, well, look at President Trump, Biden, you can't say shit.
Yep.
The guy pardoned his kids. The guy pardoned Fauci. The guy pardoned anybody that got a pardon that didn't have any kind of criminal offenses indirectly is a criminal according to Biden's method of doing this. By the way, Trump said something very interesting in his speech. Very interesting in his speech. And by the way, this guy is a maniac. Trump is a maniac. Let me tell you guys. They're telling stories just yesterday. He's been up since 4 o'clock in the morning. He's signing things. He's going to the church in the morning, the services. Then he goes to the inauguration. His wife is walking around with the shoes, giving speeches after speeches after speeches. The Starlight Ball. You know when they got off the stage when they're dancing? 12:30, 1 o'clock is the final dance with J.D. Vance. He's still up there giving a speech. This guy worked a 20-hour shift at 78 years old, doing executive orders, and he's talking to the media when they're talking shit to him, and he's going back and forth. You know what he said? He says, do you guys know my first term? I had the opportunity to pardon myself. And a lot of people were advising me saying, you should pardon yourself. You should pardon yourself. I said, why would I pardon myself? If I pardon myself, that means I'm guilty. I'm not guilty of anything. That's why I never pardoned myself. Why would anybody pardon themselves in advance? Because they are guilty. I wasn't guilty. He says, I think we won the 2020 election. I think we did this. I think we did. Look what happened. The amount of moral authority they handed to him. They can't say nothing to him for the next 4 years.
Good.
They literally can't say nothing to him for the next 4 years.
Well, you know who just validated exactly what you said?
Who's that?
Was ChatGPT. Exact portion of what you just read about Bill Clinton's brother. They said there's Bill Clinton who pardoned his brother Roger Clinton, who committed a crime, like you said, a cocaine distribution in 1980s. The other person on this list was Donald Trump. They said potential family pardon. So at the end of Donald Trump's presidency, there was speculation that he might pardon all his family, including Don Jr., Ivanka, Eric, his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, but ultimately, he He did not pardon any family members. Speaking in existence to exactly what you said, why would I need to do that? But there's another thing. This kind of goes to what Vinny's saying. When Babe Ruth called his shot, he's like, all right, I'm going to hit a home run. That's exactly what Trump did. I was like, I'm going to come after them. I'm going to go after these guys. But it's the perfect cover for the Biden crime family, as you're calling it, to basically say, oh, here's what we do. You ready? Ready? He's saying he's going to come after us. Whether we did it or not, we know what happened. Da, 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 da. Political vengeance, political retribution. James Brown had a song called The Big Payback. They're coming for us. So what we're going to do is preemptively, you talked about preemptive analytics and everything with Minority Report. Preemptively, we're going to say, well, since Donald Trump is talking about retribution and vengeance, let me go ahead and pardon my family members, so we don't get in trouble from Donald Trump. So it actually is the perfect cover for them.
But me personally, I'm not a fan of the preemptive pardon, Tom. I think the only other times was Gerald Ford pardoned Richard Nixon for Watergate scandal, and then George H.W. Bush pardoned related to the Iran Contra affair. I am anti-pre. I think you have to be set in front of court. You have to have your day in trial if you are either charged and then or convicted, and you have
That's
to.
a good point you're making.
I think so bad
Yeah.
because I'm for anybody, for Trump or anybody, I'm not a fan of it. But and I missed one point too, PBD. It was General Milley. That's one of the main ones that's a real problem, because for the audience that knows, in 2020, I believe, Rob, October 2020, he called General Lee from China and said that we have no plans to attack. This is undermining our entire system. He called and told them, if we're going to attack, I'm going to call you ahead of time. You're letting technically our enemy know our freaking plans.
Yeah.
That's why he had to let this guy.
Well, look, the reality of it is, I love the fact that all of this stuff happened open hand.
Good.
So anybody that's on the left that wants to say anything, you lost the argument because of what Biden did. Very simple. You lost the argument because of what he did. This has never happened ever before. You just witnessed what your guy that you were all impressed about do what he did here. This is going to be a very, very unique era we're going through, and we're going to learn a lot the next 4 years. And like I said, in 2025, the year of surprises, the surprises are just getting warmed up. So if you think you're very good at predictions, don't forget, go to vtnews.ai, make your predictions. There's 100 days we're going to go through. I think we're barely on day 19 of different predictions being made. Obviously, it's day 2 today, but there's been 19 predictions so far. Go claim your predictions. The next 100 days, we're going to go through this on a weekly basis on a podcast. We're excited to see which one of you guys is going to be very good at making predictions. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.